Easy Electrical YouTube channel. So as you all know that we are running the series of lectures in which we are now adding up the electrical measurement part. Now in electrical measurement part, what we will be taking care, we will be taking care of all the subjects, all the portions. That is, we will be having close to 50 plus lectures will be there, and I have divided whole of the lecture into 9 units. And after the completion of every unit, what we will do, we will basically uh, we will do question answer sessions, and after that question answer session, we will go forward to the next subject. So now coming to today's topic, we are as you all know that we are now beginning at the beginning of the lectures, that is, we will be first taking care of the basics of measurement systems, and lecture 1, that is measurements and related terms. Now to give you a brief idea about what we do, we basically run SSC JEE online coaching, and this is a contact number that we have given. If you are interested, just contact in this number and book your seats today. Now in this course, what you will get first of all a concept based module for electrical, that is technical portion, as well as the non-technical portion. Other than that, we will be having our test series. The practice papers will be given after every classes, and whatever the class recordings will be there, it will be available for you for lifetime, and we do not charge any extra fees for that. And there will be notes are there as well. Now coming to today's topic, that is measurement and its related term. Now, to write a simple word, that is measurement. Measurement. So, when we talk about measurement, what we basically say, we basically, by means of measurement, we say the word comparison. We say the word comparison. That is, what do we mean by comparison? The meaning of comparison is, whenever we are talking about measuring something, we are actually comparing it with something, some other thing. Generally, in today's today's prospect, or in general, what we do, we basically compare any object with another standard object. So this is our common practice, or this is our standard practice with what we basically do. So measurement is nothing but, we can say, a technique of comparison, now to give you a brief idea, or how to define measurement, we can write it in this way, that it is an act. Measurement is an act. It is an act of comparison. It is an act of comparison between a standard quantity, between a quantity standard quantity and a quantity to be measured, and a quantity to be measured. Now to give you a block diagram, diagrammatic representation, how we represent it. Now if we have a system like this, now see, if we have a system like this, where the system, we can write it in this way: it is a process of comparison. It is a process of comparison. It is a process of comparison, and what we call it as, measurement. Now generally, whatever we are measuring, suppose we are measuring any length, suppose we are measuring any weight, or any other thing, be it electrical as well or non-electrical as well. So first of all, we are using here is another input. So here in this case, the input will be whatever we are trying to measure. That is what we call it as measurand. We call it as measurand. measurand, measurand, or input. We call it as input. Another thing that we are comparing it with is what we call it as a standard. And after that, comparing with the standard, what we get, we basically get a result. What we basically get is a result, or we call it as an output. So by simple terms, we can say that measurement is nothing but a comparison between any standard quantity and the quantity under measurement, that is called as a measurement. So up to this part, I think you have understood the simple meaning of measurement. Now, why do we need to measure? Now, a simple basic question is, why do we need to measure? Why? Because using this measurement system, we can get a finite data or finite value of any of the quantities under measurement. Normally, we are using nowadays is a basic 7 segment display. We are using today a basic 7 segment display to display the data. Now, for example, if you see or travel any stations, you can see the timetable, whatever is mentioned in a train. You can certainly get that idea that they are using the 7 segment display. Like this, the 7 segments are there, and by this 7 segment display, we can get any of the numbers. We can show any of the numbers. And now, if many of the numbers we need to show, in that case we can use many of these 7 segment displays or units of 7 segment displays. This is a single unit. Suppose this is a single unit. Now we can use multiples of these units to represent the numbers. Now, coming to the next part. Uh, what are the meaningful points? What are the meaningful points or meaningful results that we can obtain here? What are the meaningful results that we can obtain? That we can obtain. That is number one. One thing is for sure. That is, whatever measurement techniques or whatever measurement processes that we are using, that has to be accepted by one and all. So first that we need to write is procedure and apparatus. Procedure and apparatus must be universal. Must be universal or must be universally accepted. Another thing is, the result must be accurate. The result obtained from any measurement must be accurate and widely accepted. That result has to be accepted by one and all. If the results are not obtained accepted by all, then we cannot get the true result, or we cannot get the true observation or true points. Now, coming to the next part. Now, what are the basic methods of measurements are there? What are the basic methods of measurement? Now, when we talk about the basic methods of measurement, one is, we all know, that is the direct method. Another is called as the indirect method. Now, whenever we talk about a direct method, suppose we are using a scale. Okay, suppose we are using a scale, and using this scale, if we are measuring, suppose some length of a rod we are measuring. So this is an example of a direct measurement. So a rod of length, suppose x, we don't know, we measure using a, suppose 15 centimeter scale, whatever the scale that we use. Using that, we can measure. An indirect method is one. In this case, what happens is, first an instrument is calibrated. At first we calibrate an instrument. We calibrate an instrument. Okay, at first we calibrate an instrument, and after the calibration is completed, we use that instrument for the measurement purposes. So there has to be a calibration, or there has to be a comparison that has to be done in the case of an indirect measurement. In case of direct measurement, there is no need of calibration is there. There is no need of calibration is there. Now, coming to the characteristics of the instrument. Coming to the next point, that is the characteristics of the instrument. characteristics of the instrument. Now we basically characterize the instrument into two types. One is called as a static characteristics. One is called as a static characteristics. In short, I will be writing this static characteristics, and another is called as a dynamic characteristics. Another is called as a dynamic characteristics. Now, just to give you a small and simple idea, the characteristics of the instruments that do not vary with time are called as a static instruments. The characteristics of the instruments that do not vary with time, do not vary with time, do not vary with time. Now, the characteristics of the instruments that vary with time, with time varying, varies. The characteristics of the instrument that varies with time, we call it as dynamic characteristics, and the characteristics that do not vary with time, we call this as the static characteristics. Now, to give you an idea about what are the static characteristics, so some examples I can write. That is, for example, we can say that accuracy, then precision, then sensitivity. Okay, so these are the properties that are static in nature. Then error is also a part of it. Now, dynamic in that case, suppose some errors are occurring, some errors are there that are dynamic, that is we cannot predict, and with respect to time it may vary. Suppose an resistance of an instrument is varying, so the resistance of an instrument, if it is varying, then in that case what will happen is the results will change. So time, if with time, with temperature increase, temperature increment, or time variance, resistance changes, resistance changes. So one type of example we can use it as this as well. So now we can get a simple idea of what is the static characteristics and what is the dynamic characteristics of the instrument. So these are the fundamental and the most basic parts, fundamentals and the most basic parts of the characteristics of the static and dynamic instrument. Other than this, what we can say here is, for the from the dynamic characteristics, the dynamic characteristics are basically divided into two types. One is called as, we call it as, we all know, we call it as uh, transient characteristics, transient characteristics. Another is called as a steady state characteristics. Another is called as a steady state characteristics. Now, transient characteristics means, what do you mean by transient characteristics? Transient characteristics are those characteristics that die out at the time infinity. As the time increases, its transient behavior, that means the sudden changes dies out at the time when it is reaches infinity. So in one word we can write, it dies out when time reaches or tends to infinite, so we can write that. And what about the steady state characteristics? Steady state characteristics are basically uh, reoccurring or periodical characteristics, characteristics. Now, in one simple idea, what I can give you is, suppose we are using a socket, plug and socket. So whenever we are switching on any light or fan, in that case, initially there is a transient, or there is a sudden change from first the fan or the light was not running. Now when we switch it on, it starts to run. So there is a sudden change. This sudden change will be persistent for a few microseconds or milliseconds, and that is called as a transient characteristic or transient state. After that, there will be a continuous flow of air or continuous light that we can get. So this is called as the steady state characteristic. Steady state characteristics is obtained after some time of the sometimes say some microseconds or some millisecond rate, we obtain the steady state value or the final value that we can see. Now coming to the next point, one important parameter that we always mention while talking about this measurement part is we call it as a, what we can say, we call it as a true value. So true value is one of those terms. True value, true value is one of those terms that needs a great deal of understanding, because what is a true value, you first have to realize. So I'm giving you a simple example. Suppose you are having a measurement, you are doing a measurement. So you are using an ammeter for measuring a current. Suppose this is a circuit. Suppose this is a simple circuit. There is an ammeter is there, and you have connected a resistance. And now what you want to do, suppose here is a 2 ohm resistor, here is a 10 volt ammeter, and now you have started to measure the current, and you know from theoretical calculation you are getting that the value is 5 ampere. Now if you have a really sensitive ammeter, you will get a reading that, suppose this reading it is showing that 4.9 ampere. Suppose 4.9 or 4.98, 4.95, something around that it is showing. The more number of times that you calculate, or you put the meter in the example or in the reading, you will get different values. You will get different values. Now true value is defined, true value is defined as the average of infinite number of samples. It is defined as the average of infinite number of samples. Suppose you are taking infinite number of applications or infinite number of readings through this ammeter, and if you are taking infinite number of readings, then you will be getting infinite number of results, and based on that, if you take the average of the readings, then you will get the true value. So neither you have an infinite number of times in your hand for taking just this example, or you have to do another step as well. So we basically see, or we basically come to a conclusion that, say suppose we are taking 5 readings, or suppose we are saying say 10 readings we are taking, and considering all the readings to be round about that corner, there is a mutual understanding or mutual acceptance between the science community, between the engineering community, that there has to be this is the true value. So in any measurement, in any case, we cannot measure the actual true value. We are what we are getting here is, we are accepting certain value to be true value, but this is not the actual value. For any measurement, for any case, we cannot determine the true value. So first point is, it cannot be determined. It cannot be determined. We cannot determine. It cannot be determined. We cannot determine true value. First of all, we need to clear this concept that we cannot determine this true value. Okay, so true value cannot be determined. So it is the average of infinite number of samples for an experiment. Samples or output for an experiment. So in this way, we can explain the true value. Now what happens is, the positive deviation of true value is not equal to the negative deviation of the true value. The positive deviation of true value is not equals to the negative deviation of the true value. Negative deviation of the true value. That means suppose a 5 ampere reading is there. For a meter, you are only getting the negative values, and for a meter, you are getting only the higher values. 5.1, 5.12, 13, 14, like that. Another, in that case, 4.9, 4.98. In that case, you are obtaining. Now, these two will never get the same value. That is, if you are getting a positive deviation, that means 5 plus deviations you are getting, and 5 minus your negative deviations you are getting. That in that case also they are not equal. We cannot come to a conclusion that we are getting the actual true value, because it cannot be determined. So this is the first point that we must take into care, that is, what is a true value. Now another method we are obtaining, we generally use here, we call it as an exemplar method. EXAMPLER, exemplar method. So in exemplar method, what we do, it is a method where we have agreed upon, just now we have said that we have agreed upon that some values we will be taking, suppose say 10 readings or 5 readings we will be taking, and based on that, based on their average value, we will be taking care of the true value. We will be considering that as a true value. Now, by exemplar method, what we can write here is a method which is agreed upon, which is agreed upon, a method which is agreed upon by experts, by experts as being sufficiently accurate, accurate for the purpose of, for the purpose of of for the purpose of the data, for the purpose of the data, for the purpose of the data will be ultimately put to use, will be ultimately put to use, purpose of the data to be ultimately put to use. And whatever data we will be putting to use, that will be taking care in the exemplar method only, we are taking care. Okay, so that much for the true value that we can get. Now a small concept what we are discussing here, that is accuracy. Accuracy, concept of accuracy. Now, what do we mean by accuracy? Accuracy means the closeness of the reading. Okay, the closeness of the reading to which it approaches the true value. It is the closeness of the reading, closeness of the reading with its true value, with its true value. Now, what is the meaning of this? Suppose we are having an ammeter. Okay, so the ammeter is showing 5 ampere. That is the marked reading, or the true value of the reading that is there. Now, suppose the meter is saying 4.9 ampere. 4.9 ampere. So, what is the accuracy? It is the closeness. How close it is to the true value of the reading. So, it is the measure of the closeness of the reading that we are saying that accuracy. Now, coming to the next point, the accuracy of a measurement means the conformity of the truth. The accuracy of the measurement is called as the conformity of the truth. It is called as the accuracy of the measurement is called as the conformity of truth. Conformity of truth. It is also called as the conformity of the truth. Now, so what is possible? We generally, what we have observed here is the true value. The true value, what we have observed is we cannot calculate. So we are, if we say, suppose if we represent a true value to be 80, we cannot calculate. That is the actual. That is the actual value. That is the actual value. Okay. Now coming to the best. So what we are obtaining here is best measured value. What we are obtaining here is best measured value. Best measured value. This best measured value is basically represented as AM. Best measured value is basically represented as AM. So what is this best measured value? Best measured value is basically an approximation. So it is an approximation of the true value obtained from the sufficiently extended series of measurements taking into account. Now, when we are taking about, suppose we want to make an instrument very efficient or very accurate. In that case, what we are using, we basically take n number of readings. If we take n number of readings, so increase the number of readings, the sensitivity or the accuracy of the system will increase. So best measured value is the approximation of the, suppose say 100 readings we are taking. So approximation of the 100 readings, so the average of the 100 readings. So it is an approximation of the readings, considered readings considered in an example, in an experiment, considered in an experiment. So in this way, what we can observe is that we can clearly define, what we can clearly define is what is the best measured value and what is the true value. Now what we are coming here, we are basically coming here to errors, that is called as a absolute error. We are coming here is to error. We now want to define error. That error is basically what we call it as static error, we can say. We can also call it as a static error. Static error, we are also saying it. This same static error is also called as your absolute static error. Absolute static error. Absolute static error. Absolute static error. This static error or absolute static error is basically the difference between the two readings. That is whatever we are measuring, AM measured value minus AT, that is true value. So generally error is the difference between whatever we have measured minus what is the true value. Now this is basically written in the terms of delta A. Okay, delta A is the absolute error or the static error. So delta A is basically AM minus AT. In this form we can represent, or in sometimes this is also represent in terms of epsilon as well. So we can also express this as epsilon. Epsilon naught is one of the expressions that in which we can term the static error. So static error, so first of all we have studied about the first thing, that is called as the true value. What is the true value? Now we have understood the best measured value. What is the best measured value? And now from best measured value and true value we have obtained the error, that is epsilon naught, the absolute error. Now from the term absolute there is another term that is related, basically associated with it. We call it as the relative static error. We call it as the relative static error. Now this relative static error is basically the ratio of absolute error to true value. It is the absolute error to true value. That means delta A divided by A of t, and we can write it here as AM minus AT by AT. Now we can also represent it in the terms of percentage as well. So percentage, then relative static error is basically represented in other form, epsilon r. So percentage relative static error or percentage epsilon r is basically delta A by AT into 100%, nothing other than that. So we can write it as AM minus AT divided by AT into 100%. Okay, so in this way you can see that we have expressed another terms that is called as the relative static error. So relative static error is one of the most important and fundamental points that we need to take care and we need to remember as well. So this formula basically comes in every exam. In every exam you will be giving, suppose you are giving the GATE exam as well, ESE exams as well as the SSC exams, you will be getting this topic of relative static error. Now the relative static error can be reaffirmed, or we can also write the another way, that is epsilon r is basically we are writing it as AM minus AT by AT, or in terms of AT if we want to represent, from there we can write that epsilon r AT is equals to AM minus AT. Now from that we can write epsilon r if we take common, AT if we take common, so epsilon r plus 1, that is AM we can get. Now from here we can write AT to be is equals to AM measured value divided by 1 plus epsilon r. Now we know that 1 plus epsilon r is basically root over of 1 minus epsilon r also we can write. So that is 1 by 1 plus epsilon r can be written as 1 by 1 minus epsilon r. So AT we can represent it as in this manner, AM into 1 minus epsilon r, relatively we can explain. So here we are obtaining the true value. So for any for any examination, if there is, they have given the relative static error they have given, and if they have given the measured value, okay, or the best measured value, from that we can easily calculate the value of the true value. We can easily calculate the value of the true value. Now to get a simple idea, here I am also adding another point, that is static correction, or delta C. Static correction, static correction, or delta C. Basically delta C is represent sorry delta C, delta delta C, that is delta C. Basically this delta C is represented as delta of A, but minus of the sign. That means minus of AM minus AT, that is AT minus AM is another representation we can get. So if we have to keep it in mind that we have to keep it in mind that this correction is basically, or the static error correction of correction is basically AT minus AM. We can represent it in another manner. Now if we take a simple problem, suppose I'm giving you a simple problem, just to write this problem. A voltage has a true value of, a voltage, a simple question, a voltage has a true value of 2.0 volts. Okay, a voltage has a true value of 2.0 volts, and an analog indicating instrument, an analog indicating instrument indicating instrument an analog indicating instrument with a scale range of, with a scale range of with a scale range of the scale range of uh, 0 to 2.5 volts, 0 to 2.5 volts, 0 to 2.5 volts, shows a voltage of, shows a voltage of shows a voltage of 1.96 volts, 1.96 volts, 1.96 volts. What are the values of absolute error and correction? What are the values of absolute error? Absolute error means epsilon naught, and epsilon naught and correction, that is delta C. Absolute error and delta C. So absolute error and delta C we need to calculate. So from this is a very simple very simple that problem that they have given. They have given is AT, they have given, right? AT they have given. Just what do you do now? Just put this screen on hold, and just try to solve the problem that what I have given. Now here I'm just starting the solution. Now here you can see, AT is given, what it is giving, it is given 2.0 volts. Okay, so AT is giving us 2.0 volt, and it shows a voltage of, so AM is also given, AM is also given at 1.96 volts. So what we have obtained is delta epsilon 0. Epsilon 0 is basically AM minus AT we have obtained. So that is 1.96 minus 2 volts, that means 0 minus 0.04 volts we have obtained. Now they are asking, that what is the this part is for the absolute error we have obtained. So delta C is basically minus of delta A, that is equals to minus of AM minus AT. That means the correction is 0.04 volts. So that part we can obtain. Now in certain problems they can also ask for the relative static error as well. Now we all know that relative static error is basically the ratio of what it is, delta A divided by AT. So what is delta A? Delta is basically our absolute error. So absolute error is basically AM minus AT divided by AT we can calculate. So here it is coming 0.04 and minus divided by what is the value? The value given here is 2. So the value given here is 2. So we can say that it is 0 minus 0.02. So the relative error is this much we can say. Or percentage relative static error they can also ask. So if we multiply with 100%, that means we are getting the minus 2%. or the 2% value we can obtain from here as well. So this much for the this much for this portion that we have mentioned here. And there are some problems we can also do, and we will be also taking care in our question practice session, and you can get the idea of the with of the problems. Okay, now one simple problem is there, one simple question is there. Here they are asking that express the error as a fraction of the true value and full scale deflection. So they are asking another question. They are asking another question, that is the question is express the error express the error as a fraction of as a express the error as a fraction of the true value and FSD FSD full scale deflection. Now here we need to find one thing, that is the express the error in fraction of the true value is already mentioned. This is what we have calculated as epsilon r. Now when we are talking about epsilon FSD full scale deflection, here full scale deflection is mentioned at 2.5. So for the case of full scale deflection we can write minus 0.04 divided by 2.5. So the result will change certainly. Here we are multiplying by 100, and above we are multiplying it by 10. So you can get the result from this point onwards. You can get the result. So the whatever results I have obtained here is from in percentage, that is 1.6 minus 1.6% of the result that I have obtained from calculations. You can also get the same. So my idea or my motive here is to make you understand what is the true value, what is the term accuracy means, what is the term best measured value, what is the relative static error, and what is the absolute static error. This term is basically absolute static error. Absolute static error is mentioned in three ways. Number one, we can represent it as delta A, that is also represented as delta some sort of delta epsilon 0 also we can represent. And another way, that is AM minus AT, that is measured minus true value, we can represent this as well. So this is the absolute error. And relative error, that means epsilon r. Epsilon r is basically delta A divided by AT. Delta A divided by AT. We can get the what we can get here. We can get here the values of the epsilon r value we can get. So I am stopping this lecture up to this point, and there will be another part that has to be added to the next lecture. We'll be taking care in the next lecture. So thank you everyone for watching this, and do revise this section so that you can get a better idea. Thank you.